But, I've got FaceTime. Can't I just use that?
No.
Why do you take a deep breath?
Because you're doing that stuff to taunt me.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
This is Smythe Duval from Marietta, Georgia, and you are listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast.
Thank you for that intro. I am David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT, and joining me, Donna Grindle of Carden. Good morning, Donna.
Well, hello, Mr. Sims.
How are you doing today?
Kind of weird, apparently.
So you're normal. Very good.
Yep. About as normal as it's going to be.
Yeah. So have you heard anything about this coronavirus?
I mean, you'd have to be in a hole not to hear anything, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, how,
Well,
or maybe a millennial buried in their phone. I don't know. It was there. I had to use it. Sorry, millennials.
well, everybody else is talking about it, so we probably should too, because, it actually is affecting your business, whether you know it or not. So we need to dive into answering the question about what are you doing around your security risk analysis, and does it include COVID-19?
Yeah. And just privacy, security, and this stuff, even if you're not super worried about novel coronavirus, COVID-19, blah, this is a perfect time to go through this exercise, though.
Yeah, because, you could have just a flu outbreak.
Yeah.
It could be localized to your community. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
But are you prepared for what that's going to look like for your business? Yep. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Indeed.
All right. But before we do, let's get into a couple of announcements.
Okay. Go, David, go.
All right. Number one, boot camp, spring boot camp.
What's up?
'Tis upon us.
Yes, it is.
So March 24, 25, 26.
So when this comes out, it's just a couple of weeks out.
Yep. So last chance. Better get there.
It'll be fun.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
And we will take bookings all the way up to the 26th.
You're funny.
So, but after the 26th, we will be booking the fall boot camp, which will be September 15, 16, and 17 out there on the left coast in Los Angeles, California.
Yes, it will be. So just so you know, if you're really interested, you need to get the crew signed up.
Yep.
Because, that's a big production for us. So if we don't have a minimum by August 1st, we're going to have to back out of our commitment to come see you. And don't worry, we will refund your money.
What?
But I'd rather come visit.
No refunds.
So sign up now. No refunds.
No, yeah.
This is why I'm here, not just David. But we've gotten a lot of requests to take the show on the road, go to the West Coast, and so we're going to give it a shot. If it goes well, great. We might do it again. If not, we're done. We're staying here in Tucker.
Yep.
So, gather up your posse, get your squad together, sign everybody up, because there's limited seats, and we have to make a minimum of those limited seats.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be the ones to tell you whether or not we've gotten there.
Yeah. Donna's like, you got to make it worth my while to be with David on a plane.
Really? Well, I'm flying to Los Angeles in the coronavirus. I'm sure it'll be peaking then. But definitely, if we're going to ride in the Mystery Machine, we got to have plenty of time to get the van loaded and get the band together. So looking forward to it, because I'm sure all you folks that have been asking for it will be able to get the minimum together and have us out for a visit. So Sign up by August 1st, September 15th, 16th, 17th. And interestingly enough, that's when the early bird ends. So, all right.
All righty. But tickets are on sale now, right?
That's right. You can go to the website today and sign up for either one. Pick which one you want, March or September.
Or if you're a huge fan, sign up for both.
Ooh, bonus. Love it.
All right. Any other announcements?
Not right now.
All right.
Not right now.
The homework assignment for our listeners for this week is to share the podcast with one person, which, by the way, probably should be in your office that you share it with. And document your training, people.
Yeah, please. We've got that on the app because there's an app for us. And if you go to Google Play or the Apple App Store, search for Help Me with HIPAA, and that's HIP, not HIPAA. You get the app, and you can click on the little present, and it gives you a PDF you can send yourself. And there you go. You've got your documentation to show what you learned or the content you should have been hearing. We don't know. There's a difference between what's written and what we actually say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So enjoy, document.
Yes. All right. Very good. All right. We're going to get into our topic for today.
We got to thank our donors.
Yeah, I was getting to it.
You better not screw it up.
Thank you, donors. We do appreciate those who support the podcast because we are a listener-supported podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go to Help Me with HIPAA. I started to say something else and changed my mind. HelpMeWithHIPAA.com if you're interested in being one of those who are helping us stay on the air.
Click the green donor button and donate to the cause because I need all the help I can get dealing with him. All right. Enough said.
Enough said. All right. So we will get into today's topic after a brief word from our sponsors.
Cybercrime is a multi-billion-dollar industry and growing. How confident are you that your computer network can withstand a cyber attack? Can you afford to take the chance that what you have today will protect you? Call us and find out if the cybersecurity in your business is something you should be concerned about, or if you can rest easy knowing your business is protected. Visit us online at securityfirstit.com. That's securityfirstit.com and schedule a time to talk.
Did you know that 83% of healthcare organizations report a strong negative impact to their bottom line after a data breach? So many doctors think that they're HIPAA compliant and have nothing to worry about. Many of those organizations thought the same thing before it happened to them. Call Cardin today at 678-292-5001 so they can assess your practice and help ensure you are protected and prepared. Visit cardinhq.com to learn more. All right, we are back. Let's talk about privacy, security, and what is now known as the coronavirus. So just had a conversation yesterday with one of our healthcare entities that we support, and they were asking questions like, do we have the ability to have our staff work remotely if we have to? And I'm like, oh, good job. But yeah, so they're asking the questions, but we're going to go into that a little bit deeper.
All right. Well, you go ahead then.
All right. So.
Actually, you're getting them, and we are thrilled when people start asking that. And we're on some of those listservs. The Georgia MGMA group, we're on theirs, and I'm watching them all talk about what their plans are, and because they need to have one. But our clients, we've asked them about this before, and they're exchanging all those, but I've got to throw my stuff in. I got to throw my 2 cents in
Mm-hmm.
and talk about exactly that. What if you need to have everybody work from home for a long period of time? How many people could you afford to have work from home? Could you have non-essential staff working from home? And how much would that impact your functionality? That was one thing. And then there's more.
There's always more.
There's always more. But again, the COVID-19 novel coronavirus, I have been battling this cold. It is not the coronavirus.
No.
And I don't even know if it's cold. It's just an annoying sinus infection.
It's the bourbon virus.
No, I'm not even having bourbon. I'm trying everything to make it go away. So I'm going to have the voodoo doctor come over next. But at any rate, keeping up and understanding all of the different name changes and all these different things. So we're going to call it COVID-19. Apparently, they're still changing the name.
Oh, really?
I don't know. So, because you still see all these, because coronavirus, there's a lot of coronaviruses, so they all have to have a name. And I don't know why this one got a name and a number. But, in my stupor, I missed that, they gave it its own fancy name.
Cool. So where did it come from? Have you figured that out through the tinfoil hats of the internet?
No, I'm not even going there, but I love the one that you heard.
Yeah, I heard something, and I can't even put all the pieces together. I just heard something about Bill Gates was involved, and I was like, oh, come on. Really?
Yeah, Bill Gates is involved in spreading the coronavirus. I mean, how? Anyway.
Yeah, he's like, how's that supposed to improve Microsoft sales?
Really?
Yeah,
making more people work from home.
I know what it is. That all the Apple devices are made in China. And he released the virus in China. Now it all makes sense. I've got it.
Oh,
put it all together.
You're helping.
And so now they're
Thanks
not
for
making
your help, David.
They're not making any Apple devices right now. So Microsoft, I got it. Now it all makes sense.
All right, you're in the loop. But as we say, when you have these kinds of scenarios, it's a perfect time to discuss these kinds of impacts, even if you think it will never impact you.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually something will. We have flu outbreaks and all those things, just like we talked about. But one of the things that I always find interesting is when we do our SRAs, our security risk analysis, our threat list is like 120 something items.
Mm-hmm.
And we include a wide variety of issues. And, we compare our list to the NIST 800-53. We compare it to high trust. We compare it to a lot of the different FEMA concerns and all of those kind of things. We even look at what is the crime statistics so that you in your area so that we could use that information, or the likelihood of tornadoes and all those to inform our security risk analysis. That's because we do a complete and thorough one. So now go to your security risk analysis and see right now if it includes things like flu outbreaks or, any kind of pandemic or whatever you want to call it. Something like that should be on there. Now, we call it just a flu outbreak, which is essentially what this would be. Just a really bad flu outbreak. And it's not a lot different from the concepts of a flu outbreak. And if you do one of those, HIPAA made easy, it may or may not be on there. And some IT person answered all that for you. Probably.
Yeah.
Often. I mean, haven't you seen those?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If it only covers IT and it never covers anything else, and it mentions, like, say, for example, when we say floods, what do most people think of?
Think of torrential downpours and rising of creeks and rivers and stuff like that.
Right. And, maybe near the ocean,
Hurricanes.
and those kind of things. But hurricanes generally have their own entry because they do include other things. But most people, when they think of a flood, they think that things on the ground are now saturated and water is there.
Mm-hmm.
They do not think of a tree coming through the roof of the building or the roof being ripped off and rain coming in. That's still a flood.
Yeah.
My favorite one is they never think, and this is the most likely flood, actually, that any office will ever deal with.
An overflowing toilet.
Yeah. It's plumbing issues in the building.
Yes, that is a very crappy way to go.
Yuck, 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 yuck. Yeah. Well, it's like, there's one of the things that we have learned the hard way. Well, not the hard way. We're aware of things that happen in the facilities, and talk about a blowout if the toilet explodes because of methane gas backup.
I know. That's things you think is like an urban myth. And then
No, I mean, it really happened.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. And other things that have really happened is the office that our clients are in, that nothing goes wrong there. But a problem in the office next door where the toilet ran and overflowed all weekend flooded their office.
Mm-hmm.
So again, flooding coming from somewhere. We had another client who they owned the building, and this one pipe burst over the weekend on a Saturday night, and they find it on Sunday afternoon. It just so happened that it was a pipe that was how special can it be that the only pipe that bursts that's spewing water is over the medical records and the computers?
How about that?
Yeah, the only thing that saved the computer system was a huge switch in a rack above the computers.
Yeah.
That switch died and it was choked, but it fought hard.
Yeah. We had a client that a couple of years ago when they had a lot of rains, they're 45 miles or 50 miles from the coast, as they say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they ended up getting like 18 inches of water in their building, inside the building. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. No, and then they've been there for, 15 years, never had any issues. And all of a sudden, 18 inches of water. Yeah, everything was underwater. Fortunately, their computers were sitting on top of their desks. So it didn't get much of the computers, but it tore up everything else. It was a mess. They weren't able to work in that building for a few weeks.
Yeah. Well, you remember when we interviewed Ginger about flood that happened there in Missouri, there in St. Louis area. So Mississippi floods.
Mm-hmm.
And, they've had many years where there's the huge floods. And she talked about her husband's business. They don't think about it. We're on the second floor. We don't have to worry about a flood. But when the entire first floor is flooded, suddenly you have to worry about a flood.
Yeah.
What are you going to canoe over and climb in a window? And, I'm sure all the electrical works and, but this is just that one topic, just floods.
Mm-hmm.
And how people just blow right by it on many of their SRAs. And so that's why we ask, we always joke about in everything we do, we ask multiple questions.
Yeah, because they're just going to say, oh, we're not in the flood zone.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't matter.
That's not what I'm talking about. And statistically, you're much more likely to have a plumbing problem flooding you. I don't know about you, but I've had that happen at my house.
Mm-hmm.
That there was a flooding issue due to a facility issue. And I know all these clients that have dealt with it. So for somebody to say flooding in their office is absolutely negligibly, not going to happen, and that the damage would be negligible, all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't even think about flooding, even worse. So all of that take into mind. So when on our list you get down to consider the impact of a flu outbreak, everybody's like, yeah, right. We put a ton of stuff in there, and it's because things have happened. It's
Mhm.
because they're on other threat catalogs, those kind of things. And if your SRA right now, go get it, because we know you know where it is, right? We'll
Yep.
wait.
Yeah. Go ahead and blow the dust off of it and open it up.
Open it up.
You should add, just to make sure people are paying attention, you should add the zombie apocalypse to your list.
I know, just to see.
Yeah.
maybe we'll do that next year on our threat list that we put out.
Yeah.
That, or I'll do it just for like certain clients, add it on there to see if they're really paying attention. Because step
Exactly.
one is to review the threat list.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
I'm doing it. But at any rate, when we look at the flu outbreak and people, they're like, well, okay, especially business associates. Well, they say, well, I could see why a doctor's office needs to worry about it. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
And all of the things that you need to consider in a flu outbreak, they don't fall under your common technical IT issues.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that people don't often think about is the roles that people have and whether or not they're the only ones that can do them.
Right.
And if that person's out, that function of your business is no longer happening.
Mm-hmm. And, that's why we talk about making sure that you have an incident response team, not an incident response person,
Mm-hmm.
and a privacy and security team, not a person, because you have to cross-train. You have to have more than one person know how to do things. Because I don't know about you, but if I get really sick, I'm going to sleep.
Yep.
And, when I had pneumonia, I lost like 4 days. I slept for 4 days.
Hmm.
And, I wasn't even in the hospital getting good drugs to do that. But that, if you want to get information out of me, you may have.
Yeah. Like
people will call me they asked me technical questions when I came out of surgery because they thought it'd be funny, and I apparently was able to answer them.
Yeah. I see a lot of times where, especially in the smaller environments, they'll have like the office manager will be the person basically who's taking in all the email. And, the office manager gets sick and they're out. Nobody's email is getting checked. No responses are happening. Nothing's happening. Sometimes the insurances aren't even being filed. Nothing's going on.
Right.
Because this one person is the only person that knows how to get to the email or knows how to file the insurance or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And what if you can't get to the office?
Mm-hmm.
And those kinds of questions, that's why you do a security risk analysis. Because you're supposed to worry about the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of all of your information, because I need to be available to treat patients. And in order for me to be available to treat patients, I need the companies that support me and provide the services that allow my business to operate to be able to do what they are supposed to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine? You're like, everybody's sick. We're not going to answer any help desk stuff for the next week. See you, bye.
Yeah.
We talked about what happened to these companies when their IT person just disappeared when there was trouble. And it's unfortunate that many people think that a security risk analysis just worries about hackers in a hoodie. I mean, I'm right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many more things that you need to worry about. And now is a perfect time for you to look and see if you're considering all of these things. And one of the things that you have to have on there is a lot of different insider problems, malicious insiders, disgruntled employees, non-intentional malicious. You've got a whole litany of potential insider issues that should be on there, not hacker in the hoodie, which, is becoming insulting because not all hackers are bad and not all hackers wear hoodies.
Yeah. We should do a study.
Right?
Yeah. No, well, everybody thinks the hacker thing is, individuals.
No.
That is no longer the case. These are businesses.
No, they go into the office.
Yeah.
Everybody goes into the office, goes to work.
Yeah. Have you heard about the latest one?
Which one?
These some kind of Android malware that can grab your 2FA codes from Google Authenticator.
Nice.
Yeah, how about that?
That's why we always tell people, 2FA is going to get us by a lot of it today. You're going to be faster than the other guy running from the bear, but it's not perfect.
No, but it also goes back to be careful of what you are installing on your devices.
I know.
And how many people put junk on their devices? I mean, like all these games and crap on there. They wouldn't do it to their work computer, but they'll do it to their smartphone.
Mm-hmm. Which does their 2FA to their work accounts.
Exactly.
Let's review. Let me think again on the plan I just made for 2FA. So, so this is what we're trying to say. Now is a perfect time to review your SRA and make sure you are actually considering these things as a threat to your ability to provide services.
So, Donna, what should my plan include?
I don't know.
We're just saying you should think about things.
I know you should think about it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you what to think about.
Yeah,
just
we're all done. Bye.
Go think about it.
Yeah. So, well, it's like any other business continuity kind of thing, and really and truly, the things that you have on your risk analysis, you're supposed to have in your incident response business continuity plan. And if you're saying that these are not risks you should deal with, might want to rethink it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, how many times do you see that they have to shut down conferences because the Legionnaires outbreak, flu outbreak, some sort of viral outbreak in a school, and they have to close the school. These things happen in communities all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just got an email the other day from HIMSS. They have a conference coming up in Charlotte, and they said we're closely watching the events around coronavirus and trying to determine whether or not we want to continue having this conference.
Yeah. And people are saying, well, we have, somebody was telling me a stat that, we have like 30 million masks in storage right now in the U.S., but we have how many million people?
Yeah.
Just in the metro Atlanta area alone, we would wipe out the 10-county metro Atlanta area.
Yeah.
And
I asked my sons yesterday, I said, so how is it in Japan as far as being able to find those masks? Because they buy them a lot and use them anyway over there.
Really?
And my son's like, you can't find one anywhere. There is not one anywhere.
And here's the thing that I find interesting is the mask will not prevent you from getting sick.
Mm-mm.
The mask prevents you from getting other people sick when you have it.
Correct.
Now, I've heard multiple doctors say that. Now, there might be some that don't, but, it's about you not infecting others. So you walking around with a mask on, look, if I see you with a mask on, that should mean that you are ill.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from me. That's all it is. So when we think about these kinds of things, it's any number of things could put your office at risk of having to, if you're a practice, deal with an increased influx of patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if, let's say, so that's if you're a family practice. And interestingly enough, apparently this has not been super contagious among children in the cases so far, it's been mostly adults, which is great news.
Mm-hmm.
But can you count on that? Probably not.
Right.
Because if it gets into kids, and that is scary to me, because if kids are spreading things, they are nasty, little germ-infested things. They touch things, they rub their face,
everything goes in their mouth.
Yeah, in their mouth, up their nose. Nose is running, they wipe it and then spread it across the countertop. And it's just kids being kids. And that's why I'm like, pediatricians, bless them. But, teachers have to have this immune system that's amazing because that's what kids do. Well, if it gets into kids and then the kids take that home, that's when the flu gets really bad, is because parents have to take care of the kids. So good news is this one hasn't really been spreading through kids. Bad news is it's not spreading through kids, and it's spreading crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And really and truly from the perspective of the United States, I don't know. Our biggest concern is to watch what's happening in Italy and Iran, because we do a ton of stuff there. And in China, who knows? That's kind of hinky over there. But as it spreads across Asia, that could impact us, but we can defend our borders to a certain extent by isolation and monitoring people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But if it starts spreading around Europe, we're not going to have a fighting chance of keeping it out, in my opinion. But who am I? I don't know crap. Anyways, so here are the things we have to worry about if we're going to truly worry about this. So if you have a practice, you're going to have increased number of patients if you treat these kinds of illnesses. So if you're someone that's involved with asthma or geriatrics or any of these things, you're probably going to have an increased number of patients too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a doctor that does some other kind of specialty, like say orthopedics, your patients may drop down because they're getting sick. They can't come in to do the orthopedic stuff. And, you don't want them, but you could have a sudden drop. So you got to worry about those things. And then you got to worry about just your people getting sick. So like business associates, an accounting firm, transcription, call centers, any number of businesses that support IT companies, that support these, other business associates and practices. They have to make sure they have people available, because if people are getting sick in the practices and not showing up because we want them to stay home, you're going to need more help most of the time when you're short on staff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because either people don't know how to do the stuff or they think they do, and then there's a big mess you have to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
Either way, that's why I hate vacation season. So if you're looking at telehealth stuff, this is a great time to look at it even more. Because the more you can do via telehealth, and, this doesn't seem like something, there's a ton of people that are just going to be sick, like the flu. And then you have the high risk people you're going to have to keep an eye on. Right? So,
yeah. But, I've got FaceTime. Can I just use that?
No.
Why do you take a deep breath?
Because you're doing that stuff to taunt me.
No, just because that's what people will ask. It's the I can do it this way. What's the problem?
Right.
No, it's not that it's the correct way to do it. It's not the secure way to do it. It's not the way that's going to, protect you because you don't have a BAA. So just because it works doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, you don't start doing Skype meetings. You don't start doing these. I mean, you have to use real approved telehealth tools. And you have to understand what insurance companies will pay you for telehealth, because there's still a lot of gray area in some of those cases. Mm-hmm. But certainly a great time to continue looking into that. Now, if you're going to do it, guess what needs to be on your SRA?
Bandwidth.
all your telehealth stuff. But then you have to have the bandwidth and the equipment to be able to do it properly. And that bandwidth, people don't, I have groups, they'll say, well, we have an on-prem server, but we do a cloud backup and our EHR vendor will let us switch over to them in the cloud should we need to. We can flip that switch and, you think it's like, in 5 seconds, we're going to be up in the cloud. Talk about 5 hours would be a good time to think that you might be able to flip the switch. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to have the right amount of bandwidth because once they tried doing it and they realized, well, it took all day to get that switch flipped. And then once we started using it, everybody went to a crawl because our bandwidth was designed for internal traffic, not external. You got to worry about those things. So you need to be talking to IT vendors, right? Like calling David and saying, what do they say? Can we do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually it's, we did this. Is that okay? No. Yeah. We get the calls afterwards more than I would like. I'd love to get the preemptive calls, but still working on that.
Yeah. But, that's the whole point of doing the SRA and the incident and business continuity plans. So, moving right along, we have to worry about clean surfaces. My keyboard doesn't work. I sprayed some stuff in it. You just said earlier.
Your keyboard?
Keyboard doesn't work. I sprayed some stuff in it.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. So if you're going to worry about cleaning surfaces, and some folks are germophobic, this stuff will send them over the edge, And those are the same people that use password 123 as their password. But you do need to understand how you can keep keyboards, mice, touchscreens, all of those kind of things. You might be able to make sure that you're doing more to clean those. What if you have, a lot of folks now have those kiosks for patients to check in.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that.
Can't stand those things.
But I mean, are they thinking about it? I mean, did somebody make sure that those have some sort of microbe, ban, whatever they call those things that keeps the microbes from growing on them? And would it work with these particular issues? I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to worry about with your technology just on that piece, right? Because if they're sharing the mobile devices around the office and the medical equipment itself, thankfully, most of the medical equipment, they'll have all kinds of covers on it and all that. And then you go to the computer that runs it and there's nothing. Hello. So, and there's plenty of things you can get. You can get the covers that have the antimicrobiotic, whatever you call them. What is that you call those? Where it can't.
Antimicrobial.
There you go. I'm going to let you say that whenever I need. So, you've got those things to worry about. And people don't normally think about those. But if you've got something that's spreading, you want to make sure that you're handling everything because this thing spreads through coughs, sneezes, bodily fluids. Let's just leave it at that because, not a parent. I don't like talking about those. But really and truly, that's the biggest thing. And, you sneeze over a keyboard, you cough over a keyboard. Patient walks by a keyboard, coughs over it, sneezes over it because they turn away and aim right at the keyboard. I got a long list of issues that could happen that freak me out over keyboards.
I hear that.
Well, think about it. Now you think about it next time you're walking around.
Yeah, well, I've had a bunch of kids, so it's like I'm used to the nasty.
I know, but go in an office where everybody's got the flu.
Yeah, fortunately, I don't have to go to the doctor very often, but...
Well, I go there for work.
Yeah, that's true. I send people.
So then you've got those things to worry about, but then you got other things to worry about. And there's probably some things I haven't even thought of yet. Have you thought of any that we haven't covered yet other than the ones we're about to cover, which have nothing to do with what we've already covered?
Oh my goodness.
Boy, that even wore me out.
Yeah, the one I was going to cover, you kind of got it in there. I think we're going to go down the same path with it. So,
yeah. All right. So then the next thing you have to make sure that you do, and this is a perfect teaching moment right now, is HHS released a reminder about HIPAA and the novel coronavirus, which now we call COVID-19. They did that like February the 3rd. They saw this coming. And it reminds you that you don't, like, if somebody comes in and they decide it is this virus, you don't start telling everybody. You don't, yes, you notify the public health agency. That's a thing that's allowed under HIPAA. But posting it on Facebook, telling your spouse somebody came in, your best friend, notifying them that somebody came in, getting on their phone and texting everybody they know.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I posted that one on the George MGMA list, and I said, I know none of you would be shocked to find out that someone did pick up their phone and text everyone they knew. If you had one, come into your office. You had a case, come into your office.
Mm-hmm.
And no one would be, because especially in smaller communities. But the bottom line is, it's the public health agency's job to handle that, not yours. And you're supposed to make sure everybody follows the precautions that we're all taught to follow. And right now, following the precautions to protect yourself from the flu is what we're supposed to do. So you just double down, reminding everybody to protect themselves from the flu. You don't need to tell them about why. Right?
'Tis true.
Oh, thank you.
'Tis true.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll have a link to the reminder, and it goes through the privacy and security rules that deal with this. I think it would be a great time to send that out to your staff and post it all around the office. Because even if you never worry about the virus, it's a great teaching moment to remind them about privacy and security obligations. Don't you think, David?
I concur.
Again, you're providing so much to this conversation. But this kind of thing is one of the things, when we do the incident response plans, business continuity, someone has to be in charge of making sure that your privacy and security rules don't get thrown out the window because there's a problem. Because they can't. You just have to use them properly.
True.
And then I'm going to skip one here. So you have to worry about managing panic. Again,
Are you skipping the one I was going to talk about?
I'm going to do that last.
It's the one I actually want to talk about.
I know. I'm going to do that last. So then we can just end with that one, because that one's,
okay.
You're going to get on the soapbox.
Oh, my goodness.
I said I'm going to skip that for a minute. You couldn't go with me. But you have to worry about panic amongst your staff, blowing up your bandwidth at the office, doing research, chatting, sharing too much information, doing streaming of news, the community calling your office, people thinking they have the virus when they have a cold. So you're going to have this influx if you're in family practices, internal med, see those folks, pediatricians. You need to be prepared for all of a sudden to be even more packed. And, people saying, I need to get in right now. Because you've got to be prepared to deal with the bandwidth that does of both people and technology. So that leads us to the last thing that you need to worry about in your plan. And David, since you're so excited about this one, you cover this one.
Oh, can I please, Donna? Can I please? But this is one we actually wrote a blog post on yesterday at Security First IT.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we're talking about, obviously one of the big things that ransomware does is plays on people's fears. Typically it's something like, oh my gosh, my Amazon order is going to get canceled if I don't act now. But this is different because, criminals know everybody's very interested in this coronavirus. And so the chances of you getting an email that has some kind of payload in it that has something about the coronavirus is probably pretty high right now.
Very high.
Yeah. So you definitely need to talk to your staff about not clicking on stuff. And beyond clicking, it's text messaging. It's also taking phone calls, anything where people can use this and the fear of this to get you to drop your guard so that they can then attack you.
That's it. You're done.
Okay, I'm done. All right.
Well, and you have the other piece of it, the other backside, because we always talk about criminals act on like holidays because they know you're distracted.
Right.
So their attacks, these targeted attacks that we've talked about, I mean, we just discussed in a ransomware discussion a couple of episodes ago about how these new targeted attacks are, they're in there lurking around, waiting. Waiting for the moment to drop the bomb. And if you are a company that is dealing with these other issues and they see that increase of traffic, that's when they drop the bomb because they're pretty sure you're going to pay. They're going to make you pay because they're going to put your back against the wall. And because of all of the exfiltration that we now know is going on, I think there's a third gang that's saying they're going to do it, of we're exfiltrating the data and we're going to publish it. Then you also have a data breach to deal with.
True.
So you want to make sure that you're doing everything today to see that no one's in there lurking. You want to make sure your people aren't falling for any of these, phishing scams that we know are going to come. And it'll be something that looks like it came from the government, or here's how to make sure that you don't, get the virus. And, there's going to be also the ones that go to individuals about all the remedies. Here's the guarantee. So don't open stuff, people.
Yeah. Just don't even check your email.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I have to stay on top of it because, and I do know that HHS is trying to put together the information about how to plan for more people working at home. I mean, you saw those pictures of Wuhan, China, where all the outbreaks started, and it was like there was no one on the roads, like no one. Can you imagine?
No.
Yeah, it'd make me want to get out and drive like crazy.
Autobahn!
No, I'm not going to go see anybody. I'm just going to drive around. But it is important to note that all of these things would be things that you would have in your business continuity and incident response plans. So even if you're not going to worry about the virus, if you've decided this is not something you're going to worry about in your business, take the time to use it as a teaching moment, number one, and, put this stuff out there with your staff about don't fall for phishing, don't fall for these things, but also go check your SRA because it should be included in there. And these things should be in your incident response and business continuity plans. And if they're not, you need to ask why. So why are we not having these in our plan already?
That's a good question. Why aren't we?
Why aren't we doing this already? Why are we not prepared already?
Well, one thing I like doing in these response plans is as much as possible, try to think of these as modules when you're doing your incident response planning. Because one question we often get is, how am I supposed to think of all these possible things that can happen? But if you kind of think of it as modules, you can say, all right, no matter what happens, I can pull this module here that's maybe the people we have to contact. And then I can pull this module about how we're going to function outside of the office. And then you can plug those things in so that anything that has to do with you having to function outside of the office, you have that little module piece that you can go ahead and just put into that plan. You're not creating a fully customized plan every single time. Right. 80% of it should just be things you're grabbing from your main modules.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why we have the playbooks. You have the main document that has all the details, and you pull what you need out of it to go with your playbook. And your playbook says, look at the main document and pull these things out of it.
There you go.
It's that easy.
Well, it's made easy.
It's not that easy. But it sounds like it, so we can pretend.
It's easier.
Yeah. All right. So all you stay safe out there.
Yep. Don't be drinking any Corona.
Oh, jeez. And we're done.
All right, folks. That is our show for today. And it has been a show. Remember to follow us and share us out on your favorite social media. Rate our podcasting app because we have one. And, Donna, by the way, I almost forgot. I've got a question that I wanted to throw at you that came into my email inbox.
And we're doing this at the end.
At the end,
right,
yeah.
Let's do it.
So I already answered the question. However, I did say I will throw it at Donna, unbeknownst to her, to see what she says. So basically, the person is asking, this is an IT company, business associate. They're saying, look, Microsoft's BAA basically says, if you're going to use our services, then, click here to download. And they're not getting them signed or anything like that. So the question is, do they have to get their business associate agreements signed, or can they just say, hey, if you use our services, then it's just a given? Well,
here's my thought is I could go to the OCR and I could say, this is Microsoft. They won't let me talk to even the lawyers of the lawyers of the lawyer's lawyer to get anything changed. These are my only options because this is Microsoft. They would go, we understand. But if I said, this is David Sims and he's just cranky and won't let me do it, and I just have to trust him, I don't think they'd be as understanding. So, no.
Yeah.
It's all about, can I make a reasonable argument that what I'm doing is appropriate? I would say the Microsoft thing, yeah, I don't have a lot of options. But me and as a small business with other businesses, yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Right. Okay.
So were you right?
Yeah, we were in line. I said basically that, one, you have to make sure the BAA is actually legally binding, which could change depending on where you are, state to state. The other thing is, how are you going to prove that it was entered into willfully and unknowingly by both parties if there's not a signature? Also, BAAs can be different from entity to entity. Even if all my clients say we'll use your BAA, they may decide, well, I want to change this little piece here, and the other person might change it somewhere else. And so there's that chance that it may not be identical, which Microsoft is pretty much like rubber stamp. And then lastly, we covered this back when it happened, but there was a settlement where an entity didn't have any business associate agreement in place. But what I found interesting when I looked at it was that OCR said in the settlement, and I quote, neither party could produce a signed business associate agreement, which kind of tells me they're looking for it to be signed.
Yeah. And there's some debate about countersigned and all these kind of things and the digital signatures and on and on and on. But the bottom line is you can't just say, here's our agreement, and it's a verbal agreement, and it's not going to have all this stuff in it.
Yeah.
And
But
when
I did
you
make
download it.
I made the same case you did exactly, which was basically, I don't think it would be reasonable for your company to do that, whereas it's probably unreasonable for Microsoft to try to, sign every single BAA.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, do you want to make sure you're protecting yourself regardless of what somebody else is doing? Because we know there are vendors, big and small, that still aren't doing it right.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I'm pretty sure that when you get that download, you're having to log in to get it. You don't just like go download a template.
Right. So, yeah, I think they can say, well, there's no way for you to have even got this unless you were using your login, which proves who you are. So, it's a different digital way that you're signing it without signing it.
Indeed.
But anyway, great. Thanks for backing me up.
You're welcome.
All right. So that, by the way, question comes in from Paul. Won't use his last name since I didn't get his permission. And thanks, Paul, for the question. And going back to what I was saying earlier, this is the end of the podcast. So for Donna and myself, remember, HIPAA's not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.